Excuse me? Hello? Hello? If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. All right, so sorry. Nice to meet all of you. Can the Spectrum and the WFAE person come up here? I just want to move your mics just a little bit, just so we can make sure the paper, this is not the paper, I just need to test. And then we're going to get started in just maybe 5 minutes or so. I need it like mostly this one, physically moved. Like, as long as I can get, whose mic is this? Okay, that's fine. I can physically get a little paper. Yeah, this is fine. The WCNC mic, can you move it up for me just a little bit? Just move it like right here. If you can just back it up just a little, like back this, whatever this is. Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Hi. How are you? Y'all want to start lining up? I'll be back.
Like nothing fits.
It's huge. It's like fat.
Nothing fits on
None
it.
of my rings fit on that. Absolutely not.
So like, I don't know, this whole thing sucks. I'm just kind of.
Fingers crossed.
There's one sitting right there.
There he is. And Beth was here. Who's here? Beth Helfrich was here. I don't know where she went. Where is she? She was out in the hall. All right, you guys, wait, somebody take a picture while we're up here.
See, y'all did all that stuff. Troopers, right? See, in the military, I went through basic officer training. In WCNC, summer. After that, all I did was airplane.
Well, I was embarrassing myself because I
All I did was airplane.
I know this is right.
License online, came back on campus. People might be so I wanted all that gun folks. Just the problem is, you gotta ask for something. Great. Thank you. You might see it. I can't handle it. I can't handle it. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But I can.
Oh, my gosh. I am so there.
Wait a minute, what you talking about me? What you talking about? What you talking about? That's old. Well, y'all made me, but going back is a different story. So I think y'all should make some corrections. If he's informed the police department that he's moving that way. Oh, y'all already did?
She always threatens to call law enforcement. See, look, it's right here, all law enforcement.
Oh, my gosh.
I think we are definitely gonna have that. She was trying to get me into a space, and it's like, what she is in a professional atmosphere, she is very, this was Carolyn trying to help me talk, and she was very calm, and she's always very, and she says, okay, that is a tie. That is like, go ahead and stop. Well,
Look at this whole stuff.
How you doing? How you doing? Well, good to see you.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here today. I'm Beth Helfrich, and I have the honor of representing North Mecklenburg County in our State House. But today, I'm also representing the millions of North Carolinians for whom access to high-quality reproductive care is a top priority and an ongoing grave concern. I am one of them, as someone who has spent the better part of 2 decades in and out of prenatal and postpartum care requiring reproductive care, and as someone who has spoken to countless constituents and voters across my district and across the state, I know that reproductive care is essential health care, And I know that patients deserve the freedom and the right to make those extremely personal decisions, free of interference and overreach from politicians like me. That's why I'm proud to be here today to introduce Governor Josh Stein, who will be announcing action he is taking to stand up for patients across our state, for top-tier providers, and for reproductive health care at large. Governor Stein has spent his career championing women's rights and protecting access to care. As Attorney General, he defended medication abortion access and stood up for veterans' rights to access reproductive health care. I will be proud to partner with him and the General Assembly to build a safer and stronger North Carolina, one where patients have access to the care they need and the dignity, freedom, and privacy to make those decisions themselves. Thank you, and I will now turn it over to Governor Stein.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Representative Helfrich, thank you so much for the introduction. Pleased to be joined by Dr. Catherine Ferris and Tina Marshall, who will be talking about their perspectives on this most important issue. And I want to thank all the legislators who are here standing up for women's reproductive freedoms. Today, I'm announcing my 8th executive order as governor. This order protects women's access to legal, life-saving reproductive health care, protects their privacy when they're getting medical care, and protects our providers from being criminally prosecuted for providing lawful care here in North Carolina. Deciding to have a baby is among the most personal decisions a woman can possibly make. It is a decision that she should make in consultation with her loved ones and her doctors. It is not a decision that politicians should make for her. As you will hear from Dr. Ferris and Tina, when a woman finds herself in the situation where she must consider whether or not to end a pregnancy, it is not where she wants to be. So as a state, we have a duty to support women as they navigate this emotional and complicated decision, not put more barriers in their way. That's why I'm announcing today's executive order. It will support women's reproductive freedoms and their medical privacy in a number of important ways. First, I'm directing all cabinet agencies to pursue whatever opportunities are available to them to protect women's privacy and their reproductive freedoms. I'm also directing my cabinet not to cooperate with any efforts to penalize women who've obtained legal reproductive health care or providers who have provided it. I'm also protecting women's medical privacy by instructing my agencies to review what records they're keeping about women's health care, whether they are storing them safely, and whether we even need to retain them in the first place. Additionally, it's critical that women considering their options receive medically accurate information when making this decision. We must do everything we can to ensure that women access accurate, medically sound information so that they can make the best decision for themselves and their families. I'm directing the Department of Health and Human Services to make clear to the public the differences among the types of entities that provide services to pregnant women or women who may become pregnant. Finally, I'm directing the Department of Health and Human Services to take appropriate and feasible measures to ensure that women here in North Carolina have reliable access to safe, legal reproductive health care medications and birth control. I'm proud to take this action today, and I want the women of North Carolina to know that as your governor, I will continue to stand up for you and to protect your reproductive freedoms in this state. I will now turn it over to Dr. Catherine Ferris. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Governor Stein. Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Catherine Ferris. I'm the Chief Medical Officer of Planned Parenthood South Atlantic, a Fellow of Physicians for Reproductive Health, a member of the American Academy of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and a Fellow of the American Academy of Family Physicians. I am also a proud provider of abortion care in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. It's a pleasure to be with you today to speak in support of Governor Stein's action to protect access to reproductive health care, provide medically accurate information to the public, and safeguards patients' private medical records in North Carolina. As a family physician, I am deeply familiar with how important it is for patients to have access to the full spectrum of health care, including abortion. In the 2.5 years since the Supreme Court ripped away constitutional protections for abortion care, patients across the country, but especially here in the South, have been subjected to horrifying restrictions on their bodily autonomy and their ability to access this critical life-saving care. Every day, I see patients not only from North Carolina, but those who have traveled from states with total or near total bans, desperate to receive the care we provide. They know that without an abortion, they cannot build the future they want. Whether it's the patient who showed me the picture of the 2 small children she has at home, who need all of her time, energy, and attention, or the girl who shared her dreams about finishing college and the difference she plans to make in the world by completing her education, or the woman who spoke to me about the everyday struggle of managing her chronic medical conditions and the simple reality that pregnancy and childbirth were not safe for her. This is happening across the country. When arbitrary and confusing laws tie the hands of doctors and threaten them with prosecution, those doctors are actually forced to consult an attorney before providing life-saving care. Medical providers are forced to turn patients away, and I know too many healthcare providers who hesitate to provide abortion care, or in some states, even miscarriage management, because of these laws. These bans are paralyzing our healthcare system, leading to substandard care, injury, and death, like the heart-wrenching story of the 2 women who died in Georgia as a direct result of that state's abortion ban. As a doctor, I went through years of training to learn my craft, including how to counsel patients on all of their options and help them determine what makes the most sense for them. I am an expert in sexual and reproductive health care, and I have been an abortion provider for over 2 decades. People seeking reproductive health care deserve access to comprehensive, evidence-based information from qualified professionals, whether they decide to continue a pregnancy or to seek an abortion. But laws in other states that ban abortion have created a toxic environment for patients and providers alike, even in states like North Carolina, where the care remains legal. Patients regularly ask me whether the information I'm putting into their medical record is going to be visible to somebody else. They're afraid that their private health information could be handed over to a hostile government agency or law enforcement in another state. No one should fear that their private personal health care data might be used against them, not by prosecutors, not by law enforcement, and not by government agencies. Everyone, no matter where they live or how much money they have, should be able to access the health care they need, free of fear that their private health information will be compromised and used against them under another state's laws. And as healthcare providers, we deserve to see our patients without fear of being persecuted ourselves by out-of-state politicians wholly unqualified to weigh in on another person's medical decisions. I am grateful to be caring for patients here in North Carolina. Though I despise the harmful and medically unnecessary restrictions on abortion put in place by our state legislature, it is so helpful to know that we have an administration that cares about patients, providers, and our collective privacy and safety. On behalf of the patients I serve, I want to thank Governor Stein for helping to ensure that patients can be open and honest with their healthcare providers and get the education that they need. In addition to the bans on essential health care, another insidious anti-abortion strategy is to use crisis pregnancy centers to spread mis- and disinformation about abortion care. There are at least 100 crisis pregnancy centers here in North Carolina, most of which have received state funding. They often purport to offer broad services to people who are pregnant, including people who may be seeking abortion care, but they only exist to dissuade people from having an abortion, to manipulate them and talk them out of a decision that they know is right for them. Too many of my patients have come into clinic confused, angry, and frustrated because of the disinformation that they received in a fake clinic. This has even led to patients who have to delay their care and leave the state because it took them too long to get to me based on the lies they received. It is shameful that the majority of these fake clinics are not staffed by medical professionals. They are not bound by federal privacy laws such as HIPAA, and therefore are not legally required to protect a person's information and confidentiality. When people in North Carolina go somewhere that calls itself a clinic, they should be able to trust that the information they're receiving about their health care is both medically accurate and coming from a licensed healthcare professional. For this reason, I especially applaud this step from the Stein administration to protect people from medical misinformation. There's never been a more important time to act. I am deeply grateful to Governor Stein for his executive order to protect healthcare providers and patients' privacy, dignity, and access to reproductive health care in North Carolina. And now I'm pleased to hand the mic over.
Good afternoon, and thank you all for the chance to speak today. My name is Tina Marshall, and I've lived in North Carolina for 2 decades. I'm the founder of the Black Abortion Defense League, also known as Battle, and I'm also a defender for Charlotte for Choice. We advocate for reproductive justice and provide support for many young women, primarily young Black women in the state of North Carolina and beyond. About 40 years ago, when I was living in California, I made the decision to have an abortion myself. It was the choice that made the most sense for my circumstances at the time, and I am grateful that I was able to do so. My experience 40 years ago has almost nothing in common with the experiences of the women today who enter the doors of our clinics seeking help. They are desperate and sometimes distraught. They've driven from as many as 19 hours away to obtain reproductive care. And that's to say nothing of the many North Carolinians who we serve every day. Many can't afford the health care that they need, and they're worried about an ever-changing legal landscape. I see our country's abortion bans disproportionately impacting Black women and women in poverty. We need to do anything we can to lessen their burden and fears. That's why I'm proud to be here to support the executive orders of Governor Stein, orders Governor Stein is signing today. I can tell you from personal experience that they'll make a difference for women and for care providers. Whether it's doctors or volunteers, we, the people, should be able to help women obtain medical care without having to look over our shoulders. And my guess and my hope is that we'll see more people willing to step up and help out when they're not afraid of reprisal. I'm also very glad to see him take action to reduce the risk of data leaks, because as it's been said, anything can be hacked. What would happen if, for example, the state of Texas got access to our data? Women shouldn't have to worry about data privacy on top of worrying about their health, livelihood, and in some cases, safety. And finally, I'm glad to see Governor Stein take action to ensure people know the difference between real medical centers and crisis pregnancy centers. I've seen these centers give incorrect information to women, tell them that they have more time to make a decision than they do to run out their clock, and target people who don't speak English that are more vulnerable to misinformation. What all of my experiences have taught me over the years is that anything we can do to give people choices rather than take choices away can make all the difference. So I thank Governor Stein for taking these actions today, and I urge him to continue to look for ways that he can protect women in North Carolina. Thank you, Governor Stein. Thank you.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you, Dr. Ferris. If anyone has any questions, happy to take them.
Can you just give like specific examples of how, for the uninitiated or uninformed, how your executive orders will change things that are currently already in place? Or is this just to protect against something that actually could happen but hasn't happened? Can you just give specifics about that?
Sure. The decision whether or not to have an abortion is intensely personal, about the most personal decision a woman makes. She needs to know that that is her decision to make, not some politicians, and needs to know that if she chooses to have an abortion, that she will be protected. Her privacy will be protected because it's a personal decision. There are other states that have passed bans on abortions and seek to come into North Carolina and govern the behavior of medical providers in this state. They do not need to worry that the state of North Carolina will somehow assist law enforcement in another state to reach into North Carolina for having done something that is legal in North Carolina. There is some information that the General Assembly has required clinics to provide to the state when it comes to an abortion. I want to make sure that the women of North Carolina know that we are going to do everything in our power to protect that privacy, to make sure that it remains sacrosanct, because it should be their decision to make.
Governor, are you concerned that the majority of Raleigh passing more bills and may further restrict access to abortion?
I hear from women all across North Carolina that they're concerned about the future of reproductive health care in the state and in the country. There are certainly members in the General Assembly who want to ban abortion, either totally at 0 weeks or effectively at 6 weeks. So I am concerned about that. That was an issue that was actually litigated in the last campaign. And I told the women of North Carolina that if you elect me, I will do everything in my power to protect your ability to make your own decisions, to keep it away from the politicians. Similarly, in Washington, there are people there who want to pass federal bans on women's rights to make their own decisions. So I don't know what will happen, but what I'm trying to communicate to the people of this state is that they have a champion in me for their personal privacy and their right to make their own health care decisions.
And what was the decision to make that announcement here in Charlotte?
I wanted to come to Charlotte. Hadn't had an opportunity to be in Charlotte since I was sworn in 2 weeks ago, and I said, I want to get down to Charlotte, so here I am.
Anybody else have a question?
Do you anticipate being challenged on this?
I don't think so. This is all squarely within my authority as governor to issue an executive order. I'm directing my state agencies, the agencies of state government. I'm not changing the law in any way. I'm just clarifying and reassuring the women of North Carolina that they will maintain to have whatever rights they have in their law, they will be protected fiercely by this administration.
Governor, do you share the view that these crisis centers which are supported by hundreds of churches and hundreds of thousands of people in our state only exist to dissuade people from abortion?
I don't know. I've not been to all crisis pregnancy center. I've certainly seen reports where some of them do that. I expect there are others that act with fidelity and good faith. The key thing is for folks to know what rights or what obligations each organization has when you go walk through the door. If you go see a doctor, they have a federal law that protects your privacy. If you go to a crisis pregnancy center where there is not medical professionals, they do not have that same obligation, and they can tell anyone anything. And I want people in North Carolina to be able to make their own decision with the best information that exists, and folks need to understand what information it is they're receiving.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank
Needs
you
to
all.
run out, but I do appreciate that. If y'all have any follow-up questions, you can feel free to email govpress@nc.gov. You'll get me, or just one of my kids, so we'll be around. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we do appreciate that. All right, thank you, everybody. I do appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for this.
You got sworn in? You had good seat back there?
So I've been give me a second if you either email. Unfortunately, my brain is on.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to make sure.